The Valdari fleet emerged from the rift. With the arrogance of gods, Admiral Thrax stood on the command dais of the Imperius, his scaled fingers gripping the polished armrests of his throne. Before him, the tactical display painted the Sol system in shades of orange and red, humanity's home, a blue and green marble clinging to a yellow star. Pathetic, really. A single inhabited planet, a few scattered colonies on lifeless rocks, and a species that had barely learned to crawl beyond its own gravity well. Report, Thrax commanded, his voice a low rumble that vibrated through the deck plates. All fleet elements accounted for. Admiral, his tactical officer, responded. 53 capital ships, 120 support vessels, and the full complement of fighter wings the humans have detected our arrival. They are reacting. Thrax allowed himself a predatory smile. Describe their reaction. Chaotic, Admiral, their orbital platforms are scrambling, civilian vessels are fleeing their space station, their planetary defense network is attempting to warm up, but they appear confused about our approach. Vector, because they cannot comprehend our technology, Thrax said, rising from his throne. He stepped toward the viewing port where the distorted light of a distant star stretched across the armored glass. They see us as a threat, but they do not understand what that word truly means. The Valdari Empire had conquered 17 star systems across 2,000 years of expansion. They had crushed the militaristic Zeor collective in 6 weeks. They had absorbed the technological marvels of the SciFiStories Confederation through economic pressure and surgical military strikes. They had never encountered a species that could mount meaningful resistance. Every battle was an exercise in precise application of overwhelming force. Long-range communications are receiving a transmission from the human world. His communications officer announced. It appears to be a warning. Thrax turned, one eye ridge raised. A warning. Shall I play it, Admiral? Do so. The transmission crackled through the bridge speakers, a human voice, female, calm, carrying an edge that Thrax could not identify. This is Commander Helena Voss of the Earth Defense Fleet. To the approaching alien vessels, you are entering sovereign human space. We have observed your fleet composition and your approach. Vector, you have not responded to our hails. This is your final warning. Do not approach Earth. Repeat, do not approach. Thrax laughed. The sound was low and dangerous, echoing across the bridge. His officers joined him, a chorus of contempt that filled the command center. They warn us, Thrax said, shaking his head. They have no understanding of what they face. Send a response. Yes, Admiral. Message content. Standard ultimatum. They will surrender their system, their resources, and their population to Valdarian governance. They will be treated with the dignity befitting a conquered people. They have one standard cycle to comply, and if they refuse, Thrax returned to his throne, settling into the cold embrace of his command chair. Then we demonstrate why the Empire does not negotiate with insects. The response from Earth arrived within minutes. Commander Voss's voice did not waver. There was no fear in her words, no desperation, only a terrible certainty. We have received your ultimatum. We reject it. We repeat our previous warning. Do not approach Earth. You have been given a courtesy. We extend only Once the stars are ours, they will not save you. Thrax stared at the speaker as if it had grown a mouth. The stars are ours. What nonsense is this? His science officer stepped forward, a thin creature with far too many eyes and a tendency toward nervous twitching. Admiral, I should note that the humans' communication technology appears more advanced than our initial projection suggested. Their targeting systems may have locked onto our flagship. Let them lock, Thrax said dismissively. What can they do? They have no FTL capabilities beyond rudimentary drives. Their weapons are chemical-based, kinetics and primitive energy weapons. We could sit here and let them fire. Everything they possess and our shields would not flicker. But Admiral, silence, order the fleet to advance. Standard combat formation, we will enter Earth's orbit and demonstrate what true military power looks like. The Imperius led the charge. Behind her, the Valdarian armada spread into a crescent formation, their weapons charging their fighter screens, deploying. It was beautiful in its precision, a display of martial excellence that had never failed. Then the stars began to die. It started as a flicker on the tactical display, one of the outer system navigation markers, a star not visible to the naked eye but critical for jump calculations, simply vanished. The console showed no indication of what had occurred, no weapon impact, no sensor or. The star was there, and then it was not. Admiral, the tactical officer said, her voice uncertain. I am detecting anomalies in the navigation network. Define anomalies. Stars are disappearing, Admiral, not from the sky, from our instruments. The jump points are failing, the gravity markers are losing coherence. Thrax rose from his throne again. That is impossible. Stars do not vanish. They are not vanishing from the universe, Admiral. They are vanishing from our navigation sensors. Something is blocking them. Something is interfering with the fundamental signals we use to navigate. The bridge fell silent. Officers stared at their consoles, watching the tactical display transform from a map of certainty into a void. One by one, the navigation markers blinked out of existence. The stars they had used to chart their course, the fixed points that had guided the Valdaran Empire across 17 systems, were gone. All ships hold position, Thrax commanded. Do not attempt jump. Do not engage engines until we understand what we are facing. Admiral, the communications officer said, his voice trembling. We are receiving a transmission from Earth. It is Commander Voss again. Play it. The human voice filled the bridge. This time there was no warning. There was only a statement delivered with an almost gentle finality. Admiral Thrax, you have entered space. You have been given a choice. You rejected it. Now you will learn what humanity does when our home is threatened. The stars you used to find us are no longer available to you. The stars we use are ours, and they do not welcome intruders. Thrax looked at viewing port. Beyond the armored glass, the universe had become alien. The constellations he had known since childhood were gone, replaced by vast and trackless darkness. The fleet was blind. Ensign, he said, his voice barely above a whisper, where are we? The tactical display showed the unthinkable. Admiral Thrax stared at the holographic representation of the Sol system. Or rather, he stared at what remained of The Valkyrie fleet sensors had been designed to map stellar phenomena with microscopic precision. They could detect a shuttle's heat signature from across a star system. They could track the movement of asteroids in the Kuiper Belt. They could not track human ships that appeared and vanished like phantoms. Admiral, I have confirmed multiple contacts, the tactical officer announced. Their signatures are impossible. They are appearing at coordinates that should be empty. They are moving in ways that violate known physics. I cannot get a solid lock on any of them. Show me, Thrax commanded. The display shifted. Red dots materialized across the system, dozens of them, then hundreds. They clustered near the outer planets, drifted through the asteroid belt, gathered in formations that made no tactical sense. The Valkyrie fleet was surrounded by an enemy they could not see clearly, could not target reliably, could not even count. New contact, the science officer shouted, directly off our forward arc. It's one ship, Admiral, but it's enormous. The viewing port displayed the impossible. A vessel emerged from behind a shattered asteroid, its hull painted in shades of gray and black that seemed to drink the light. It was not shaped like any warship Thrax had seen. It looked more like a construction platform, a mobile city, a floating fortress that had been stripped of all pretense of elegance. Massive sensor arrays jutted from its surface at impossible angles. Weapons batteries bristled from every available surface. It looked like something built by desperate people who had run out of time. Identify, Thrax ordered. Designation unknown, but Admiral, its energy signature, it's generating something we've never encountered. I can't even classify it. The human vessel accelerated. It moved with terrible purpose, cutting across the Valkyrie fleet's formation. Thrax watched as his ships attempted to track it, their weapons firing, their fighter screens scrambling. The human ship did not evade. It did not return fire. It simply passed through. What was that? Thrax demanded. Did they hit anyone? No, Admiral, they didn't fire. They just flew by. The science officer stepped forward, his multiple eyes blinking in rapid succession. Admiral, I believe I understand what we are facing. The humans are not attacking us. They are demonstrating. Demonstrating what? The science officer pointed at the tactical display. The navigation markers we lost, the sensor interference, the ability to appear and disappear from our instruments. The humans have developed technology that interacts with the fundamental fabric of space itself. They are not moving through our formation. They are moving through the gaps in our sensors. They are showing us that we cannot see them, cannot track them, cannot hit them. Thrax felt something he had not experienced in decades: uncertainty. How is this possible? They are a primitive species. They barely have FTL. They have something better, Admiral. They have something that makes FTL irrelevant. They have weaponized the very medium we use to travel. The stars we use for navigation are not physical objects to them. They are anchors in a web, and the humans have learned to cut the threads. The bridge fell silent again. Thrax could hear the hum of the engines, the whisper of the life support systems, the breathing of his officers. Every sound seemed amplified in the crushing silence. Commander Voss, Thrax said, open a channel. we have not been able to establish. She will contact us. Wait. The channel opened 3 heartbeats. Later, Voss's voice came through the speakers, calm and measured, as if she were discussing the weather. Admiral Thrax, you have observed our demonstration. You have seen what we can. Due to your navigation, you have seen our ships pass through your formation. Without resistance, I assume you are beginning to understand the situation. Thrax forced his voice into a tone of command. You have displayed impressive tricks, Commander, but tricks do not win wars. You have 1 vessel in our immediate vicinity. We have 53 capital ships. If you believe we are intimidated, I don't believe you are intimidated. Admiral, I believe you are confused. There is a difference. Let me clarify the situation for you. A new holographic display appeared in the center of the bridge. It showed the Sol system, but overlaid with data that made Thrax's officers gasp. The human ships were everywhere. They were not hundreds. They were thousands. They were not clustered in defensive positions. They were positioned to interdict every possible escape route, every possible jump point, every possible vector of retreat. We are not showing you everything. Voss continued. What you see is approximately 1/3 of our deployed assets. The rest are positioned to ensure that your fleet cannot communicate with your home world, cannot request reinforcements, cannot receive orders. You are isolated, Admiral. You are alone, and you are surrounded. Thrax gripped his armrest so hard his scales cracked. You are bluffing. I am not bluffing. I am explaining. Valdarian Empire has made a very common mistake. You looked at our technology and assumed we were primitive. You looked at our history and assumed we were weak. You looked at our planet and assumed we were easy prey. You forgot to look at what we survived. The tactical display shifted again. This time it showed Earth itself, the blue oceans, the green continents, the white clouds, but it also showed something else, a grid of satellites that Thrax had not noticed before, a network of weapons platforms that his sensors had dismissed as debris, a planetary defense system so comprehensive, so layered, so redundant that it represented the accumulated fear of a species that had almost destroyed itself. We have been watching you since you entered our system, Voss said. We have been tracking your movements, analyzing your technology, studying your tactics. We know exactly what you can do. You have no idea what we can do. That is the advantage we possess. That is the advantage we will use. Thrax rose from his throne, his voice carried across the bridge, finding strength and fury. You cannot win. Commander, you may have tricks, you may have technology we do not understand, but the Empire has resources beyond your comprehension. We will send more fleets. We will bring more ships. We will. You will send more fleets into darkness. Voss interrupted. You will bring more ships into a trap. You will die. Admiral, all of you, every soldier, every pilot, every officer who comes to our system will die. We have already calculated the losses. We have already prepared the countermeasures. We have been preparing for this moment for centuries. For the first time, Thrax heard something in Voss's voice. Not anger, not triumph, just a terrible weariness. As if she had been forced to make this speech 1,000 times. We do not want to fight you, she said. We do not want to kill your people. We want you to leave. That is all we want. You to go back to your empire and tell them what you have seen. Tell them that Earth is not worth conquering. Tell them that the price of victory is extinction. Thrax stood in silence, staring at the human vessel on his viewing port. It had not moved, it had not fired, it had simply waited, a monument to everything he had not understood. My fleet, he said finally, will not retreat from a single ship. That is not a single ship, Admiral. That is a message, and the message is this: we have already won. We are simply waiting for you to accept it. The holographic display flickered, and Voss's transmission ended. Thrax turned to his officers. Launch. All fighters, target that vessel with everything we have. Show me what happens when insects try to intimidate gods. The bridge exploded into activity. Orders flew across channels. Fighters launch from their bays, weapons charged to maximum output. The Valdari fleet prepared to do what it did best: destroy. The human vessel did not move. The attack was beautiful. Thrax watched from his command throne as wave after wave of Valdari fighters screamed toward the human vessel. Their wings were painted with the colors of 100 victorious campaigns. Their pilots were veterans of a dozen conquered systems. They moved with the precision of a species that had perfected the art of destruction. The human ship did not fire. The first wave reached weapons range. Particle beams lanced across the void, striking the human vessel's hull. They did nothing. The energy dissipated against a shimmering field that seemed to absorb the impact, redirecting it into the surrounding space. Report, Thrax demanded. We are hitting them, Admiral. The weapons are working, but their shields aren't. They are not shields, they are something else. The energy is being rerouted. I don't know where it's going. The second wave closed the distance. This time the fighters fired missiles. Projectiles streaked toward the human vessel, their warheads armed, their guidance systems locked. They detonated against the shimmering field. Explosions were enormous, bright enough to be visible from Earth. They should have vaporized any ship smaller than a moon. They did nothing. Admiral, the science officer said, his voice rising with panic, I am detecting energy fluctuations in the local space-time. The human vessel is not just absorbing our weapons fire, it is using our weapons fire. It is feeding on our attacks. Thrax stared at the display. Impossible. That violates every law of physics we know. The humans appear to have discovered laws of physics we do not know, Admiral. They are converting our weapons fire into something else. I believe. They are using it to power something. The human vessel began to move. It did not accelerate in any conventional sense. It simply changed position, appearing kilometers from its original location without any visible transition. Then it changed again and again. It was dancing through the Valdarian formation, avoiding fire with movements that should have been impossible. All ships concentrate fire on the target, Thrax shouted. Do not let it reach us. The Valdarian fleet opened up with everything they had. Capital ship weapons joined the fighters' attacks, creating a storm of energy and projectiles that should have turned any vessel to molten slag. The human ship moved through the storm, untouched, untouchable, a ghost that haunted the Empire's finest weaponry. Admiral, the target is not attacking. The tactical officer reported. It is simply dancing. It has not fired a single shot. It has not launched any fighters. It is just evading. It is showing off, Thrax said, and the words tasted like ash in his mouth. It is proving that we cannot hurt it. Should we disengage, Admiral? Could we? Perhaps. We will not disengage, Thrax snarled. We are the Valdarian Empire. We do not retreat from a single ship. Prepare a boarding action. We will send soldiers across. We will take that vessel and learn its secrets. The science officer stepped forward, his multiple eyes wide with alarm. Admiral, I strongly advise against that course of action. The energy readings from that vessel are unstable. They are interacting with our transporter technology. I cannot guarantee the safety of any boarding party. Send them anyway. Admiral, send them. The order was given. 6 squads of Valdarian elite troops equipped with the Empire's finest personal armor and weapons locked onto the human vessel. The transporters activated their beams, cutting through the void, targeting the ship's exterior hull. The beams vanished. Admiral, the transport sequence failed. The human vessel is interfering with the transporter beams. I cannot establish a lock. They have transport disruptors. It is worse than that, Admiral. They are. The vessel itself is rejecting our technology. It is not a ship. It is an ecosystem. It is alive in a way I cannot describe. The human vessel finally stopped moving. It settled into position directly above the Imperius, hanging over the Valdarian flagship like a judgment. It was close enough now for Thrax to see details on its hull. Lines of metal that looked like scars, patches of armor that seemed welded in haste, a design philosophy born of necessity and desperation. Then the ship opened. A section of the hull retracted, revealing a hangar bay. A smaller vessel emerged, a shuttle, Thrax realized. Designed for atmospheric flight, it descended toward the Imperius, moving with deliberate slowness, announcing its approach. Admiral, the shuttle is requesting docking clearance. It is transmitting a message from Commander Voss. Play it. Voss's voice filled the bridge once more. Admiral Thrax, I'm coming aboard your ship. I wish to speak with you directly. I will be unarmed. I will be alone. I ask only that you grant me safe passage and an audience. We need to talk before more of your people die. Thrax stared at the shuttle descending toward his flagship. It was an act of such audacity, such profound confidence, that he found himself unable to speak. A human commander coming aboard the flagship of an invading fleet, unarmed, alone, asking to talk. Let her come, he said finally, but prepare a security detail. If she makes any hostile move, incinerate her. The shuttle docked. Thrax waited on the bridge, surrounded by his officers, his security team, his finest soldiers. He would not show fear. He would not show weakness. He would face this human as an emperor faced a subject. The hatch opened. Commander Helena Vass stepped onto the bridge of the Imperius. She was smaller than Thrax had expected, shorter than his shortest soldier. Her face was weathered, lined with years of service and decades of survival. She wore a uniform of dark gray, unadorned except for a single patch on her shoulder, the emblem of the Earth Defense Fleet. She carried no weapons. She made no aggressive moves. She simply walked to the center of the bridge and stopped. Admiral Thrax, she said, thank you for seeing me. Thrax studied her. He had expected defiance. He had expected anger. He had expected the desperation of a species facing extinction. He had not expected exhaustion. "You are brave to come here, Commander," he said, "or foolish. I have not decided." "Which?" "Probably both," Vass said. "But I came because I wanted to show you something. Something you will not see on your sensors, something you will not understand from our transmissions." She reached into her pocket. Every soldier on the bridge tensed, weapons rising. She did not react. She simply withdrew a small device no larger than her palm and placed it on the floor. "What is that?" Thrax demanded. "A recording," Voss said. "A history of my people. I think you need to see it before we continue this conversation." She activated the device. A holographic image appeared above it, depicting a world that was not Earth. It was a world covered in ice, a frozen wasteland where nothing should have survived. "This was Earth," Voss said, 100,000 years ago. Our planet was caught in an ice age that should have killed every living thing. It didn't. We survived. We adapted. We learned to fight the cold with fire and clothing and shelters." The image changed. Now it showed a planet covered in fire, volcanoes erupting across every continent, the sky choked with ash. This was Earth 65 million years ago. Series of volcanic eruptions triggered a mass extinction. 90% of all life on our planet died. We were not yet sentient. But our ancestors survived. They adapted. They learned to live in the ashes. The images continued. Floods, desertification, plagues, wars, each one more terrible than the last, each one followed by recovery, by survival, by the stubborn refusal of a species to accept extinction. "You are looking at the wrong thing," Voss said softly. "You are looking at our technology and wondering how we developed it. You should be looking at our history and wondering why we developed it." The holographic image showed a world destroyed by war, not by aliens, not by natural disaster, by humans, by weapons built by human hands, used against human enemies. "We almost killed ourselves," Voss said. "We came closer to extinction than any species should ever come. We fought wars that turned our cities to dust. We built weapons that could crack our planet. We were our own worst enemies." She looked up at Thrax and he saw something in her eyes that chilled him more than any weapon. "We survived that too," she said. "We rebuilt. We learned. We created the Earth Defense Fleet, not to conquer other worlds but to protect our own. We made a vow. Never again would we let our world be destroyed. Never again would we let our species fall to extinction. None of that explains what you did to our navigation," Thrax said. "None of that explains why the stars are dark." Voss nodded slowly. "No, it doesn't, but it explains why we did it. You see, Admiral, we didn't build weapons to fight you. We built weapons to fight each other, and when you came to our system, we turned those weapons on you." She gestured to the recording device. "The technology we used to darken your stars was designed to protect our world from asteroid impacts. The technology we used to hide our ships was designed to prevent our own weapons from tracking each other. The technology we used to absorb your weapons' fire was designed to survive our own nuclear attacks." Thrax felt his scales prickle with cold. "You are saying you built all of this to fight yourselves?" "We built all of this," Voss said, "because we are the most dangerous thing we have ever encountered, and when you came to our system, you became our enemy, you became something we had to destroy. She turned to face the viewing port, where the dark stars hung like a shroud over the universe. I am not here to threaten you, Admiral. I am not here to negotiate. I am here to warn you. If you do not leave our system, we will show you what we learned to do to our own kind. And I promise you do not want to see that. Thrax looked at the human commander and felt something he had never felt before. Fear. The bridge of the Imperius had become a tomb. Thrax stood before the holographic display, watching the endless loop of human history that Commander Voss had left behind. He had watched it 5 times already, each viewing revealing new horrors, new depths of desperation, new examples of a species that refused to die. The Ice Age, the volcanic winter, the famines that had killed millions, the plagues that had swept across continents, the wars that had turned cities to glass, the nuclear exchanges that had nearly ended civilization. Each catastrophe should have been the final chapter of humanity's story. Each catastrophe had been followed by survival. I do not understand, Thrax said. Finally, how is this possible? How can a species be so resilient? The science officer stepped forward, his multiple eyes fixed on the display. Admiral, I have been analyzing the data. The humans are not remarkable in any single way. They are not the strongest species we have encountered. They are not the most intelligent. They are not the most technologically advanced. Then what makes them dangerous? The science officer hesitated. It is their ability to adapt, Admiral. Other species, when faced with extinction, develop new strategies. They evolve. They change. Humans do something else. They do not evolve. They transform. They take their weaknesses and make them strengths. The holographic display flickered, showing a scene of devastation. A city in ruins, a population reduced to a fraction of its former size, a species on the brink of annihilation. During their ice age, they did not grow thicker fur or larger bodies. They learned to build fire. They learned to create clothing from the skins of animals they hunted. They learned to construct shelters from snow and ice. The image changed. A nuclear explosion, blinding in its intensity, a world on fire. When they faced nuclear annihilation, they did not disarm. They did not surrender. They built countermeasures. They created systems to intercept incoming warheads. They developed technologies to survive radiation exposure. They made themselves unkillable. Unkillable, Thrax repeated. That is a strong word. Allow me to demonstrate, Admiral. The science officer manipulated the controls, bringing up a biological analysis of the human species. Humans have a genetic tolerance for radiation that exceeds any other species we have encountered. They have a capacity for healing that borders on the miraculous. They can survive injuries that would be fatal to any Valdari soldier. Thrax stared at the data. How is that possible? Because their ancestors survived nuclear war, Admiral. Their bodies adapted, their genes changed. They evolved not over millennia, but over generations. They became immune to the weapons they used to destroy each other. The holographic display shifted again. This time it showed a human ship, not the massive vessel that had danced through the Valdari formation, but Something smaller, a fighter perhaps, or a scout. This is another aspect of their adaptation, the science officer said. The humans did not build warships, they built lifeboats. Every human vessel is designed to survive catastrophic damage. Every human weapon is designed to be effective even when the user is dying. They do not fight to win, they fight to survive. Thrax turned away from the display. His mind was a storm of contradictions, a battlefield of pride and fear. He was an admiral of the Valdari Empire. He had conquered worlds, he had destroyed fleets, he had never faced an enemy like this. Commander Voss, he said finally, I wish to speak with her again. The communications officer opened a channel. Voss appeared on the holographic display, her face calm, her eyes holding that terrible exhaustion. Admiral Thrax, you have seen our history. I have seen your history, Thrax said. I have seen what you survived. I have not seen what you will do to us if we refuse to leave. Voss was silent for a long moment, then she nodded slowly. We have a weapon, Admiral, a weapon we never wanted to use, a weapon we hoped never to need, but we built it. We built it because we learned that the universe is a dangerous place, and we learned that survival requires terrible choices. She reached into her pocket and withdrew a small device similar to the one she had used to display human history. She activated it, and a new holographic image appeared. It showed a star like any other, burning with the light of nuclear fusion, but something was wrong with it. The light was dimming, the radiation was decreasing, the star was dying. This is a weapon we call the stilling. Voss said, it does not destroy stars. It does not destroy planets, it destroys something more fundamental. It destroys the ability of a star to support life. It makes stars useless, it makes worlds uninhabitable. It creates a void where nothing can survive. Thrax stared at the image. You would destroy stars, you would render entire systems uninhabitable. We would do whatever is necessary to survive, Admiral. That is what we have always done. That is what we will always do. The science officer stepped forward, his multiple eyes wide. Admiral, the energy signatures we detected from their vessel, they match. The stilling, they have the weapon on board, they have it ready to deploy. Thrax felt the world tilt around him. Commander Voss, you said you were here to warn me. You are threatening to use this weapon on our fleet. I am threatening to use it on your home world, Voss said. If you do not leave, we will not destroy your fleet. We will destroy your stars. We will make your empire into a graveyard. We will leave you stranded in darkness, unable to navigate, unable to communicate, unable to survive. The silence on the bridge was absolute. Every officer, every soldier, every crew member stared at the holographic image of the dying star. You would not do that, Thrax said. You are not monsters. We are what we had to become, Voss said. We are survivors, and survivors make choices that others cannot understand. They make choices that others call monstrous, but they survive. She looked directly at Thrax, and he saw something in her eyes that he had not seen before, not exhaustion, not fear. Something older, something colder. You came to our system, Admiral. You threatened our world. You threatened our people. You gave us no choice. We have spent 10,000 years learning how to survive extinction. We have spent 10,000 years preparing for enemies like you. And we have spent 10,000 years building weapons that we hope never to use. She paused, her voice dropped to a whisper. Now you will give us a reason to use them. Thrax looked at the holographic display. The dying star, the vast darkness, spreading across the Valdarian Empire. The end of everything he had known. And he made a decision. Admiral Thrax gave the order that would define his career. All ships, he commanded, his voice carrying across the bridge, open fire. Full weapons release, all targets, all arcs destroy that vessel, destroy it. Now, the tactical officer stared at him. Admiral, the data suggests. I do not care what the data suggests. We are the Valdarian Empire, we do not surrender to threats, we do not negotiate with savages, fire. The bridge exploded into action, orders flew across the fleet, weapons charged to maximum output, targets were acquired, firing solutions were calculated, and the Valdarian fleet opened fire. The first volley was a storm, particle beams, missile waves, kinetic projectiles, everything the Empire had, everything it had built over millennia of conquest, all directed at a single human vessel. The human vessel did not move. The weapon struck the shimmering field around its hull, and for a moment Thrax allowed himself to hope. The energy release was enormous, a miniature sun blooming in the void of space. Nothing could survive that, nothing. The energy faded. The human vessel was still there. It had not moved, it had not even been scratched. The shimmering field absorbed the entire volley, redirecting it into the vessel systems, powering something that Thrax could not see. Admiral, the tactical officer shouted. The vessel is charging something, it is building energy. The readings are off the scale. Evasive maneuvers, Thrax commanded. All ships spread out, do not let it target. He never finished the order. The human vessel fired, but it did not fire a weapon. It fired an energy pulse, a wave of distortion that spread across the Valdari fleet. It did not destroy any ships. It did not damage any hulls. It did something worse. It shut them down. One by one, the Valdari ships lost power. Their engines died. Their weapons went offline. Their life support systems flickered and failed. The fleet was still intact. It was still armed, but it was useless, drifting in the void like a graveyard of metal. What happened? Thrax demanded. What did they do? The science officer stared at his instruments, his multiple eyes blinking with confusion. The pulse, Admiral, it was an EMP, but not like any EMP we have encountered. It was designed to target our specific technology. They knew exactly how to neutralize us. They knew exactly how to neutralize us. Thrax repeated. They studied us. They prepared for us. They. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the human vessel. It is Commander Voss. Play it. Voss's voice filled the bridge. Admiral Thrax, you have attacked a human vessel in human space. You have demonstrated that you do not intend to leave peacefully. You have given us no choice. The holographic display flickered, showing an image that made Thrax's blood run cold. The human vessel was not alone anymore. Thousands of ships had appeared around it, materializing from the darkness surrounding the Valdari fleet. On every side, we were hoping you would make the right decision, Voss continued. We were hoping you would leave, but you have proven that you cannot be trusted. You have proven that you are a threat to our survival, and we cannot allow threats to survive. Thrax stared at the display. Thousands of ships, tens of thousands, maybe more. They had been there the entire time, hidden behind the humans' impossible technology, waiting for this moment. You cannot, he started. We can, Voss said. We have always been able. We were simply hoping we would not have to. Now you have made that hope impossible. The human ships began to move. They advanced on the Valdorai fleet with deliberate slowness, with terrifying patience. They did not fire. They did not attack. They simply surrounded the helpless Valdorai vessels, creating a cage of metal and weapons. Admiral, the tactical officer, whispered, "They have us. They have us completely." Thrax looked at the human ships, then at his own fleet drifting in the void. Powerless. He looked at his officers, their faces filled with fear. He looked at the holographic display, the dark stars, the dying universe, and he realized the truth. He had lost. "I surrender," he said, and the words tasted like acid in his mouth. "Commander VOSS, I surrender. Please do not destroy my fleet. Do not kill my people. I am asking for mercy." The silence stretched for a long moment. Then VOSS Quat's voice returned, softer now, almost gentle. "Admiral Thrax, you have asked for mercy. We will grant it, but you must understand something. We are granting mercy because we choose to, not because you have earned it, not because you deserve it, because we are not monsters. We are survivors." The human ships did not move. They simply waited. "Here is what will happen," VOSS says. Continued, "Your fleet will return to your homeworld. You will deliver a message to your empire. You will tell them what you have seen. You will tell them that Earth is not a target. Earth is a tomb, and any who enter this system will never leave." Thrax nodded slowly. "I understand." "I hope you do," VOSS said, "because the next time you enter our system, we will not offer mercy. We will not offer warnings. We will offer darkness, and we will make sure you find your way." The transmission ended. The Valdari homeworld burned with fear. Admiral Thrax stood before the Imperial Council, his scales pale with exhaustion, his voice hoarse from speaking. He had been presenting his report for 3 standard cycles. He had described everything: the dark stars, the ghost fleet, the impossible technology, the surrender. The Council had not believed him. "Impossible," Supreme Commander VARN said, his voice dripping with contempt. "You are telling us that a primitive species defeated the might of the VALDARIN Empire. You are telling us that we lost to insects. I am telling you that we faced an enemy we did not understand," Thrax said. I'm telling you that we were arrogant. I'm telling you that we made assumptions that were wrong. You are telling us that you failed." Counselor Zara said, "You are telling us that you surrendered." "I am telling you that we survived." Thrax said, "I am telling you that I made the choice to save my fleet. I am telling you that if I had not surrendered, every ship under my command would be drifting in the void." The council chamber erupted. Voices rose in anger, in accusation, in denial. Thrax stood in the center of the storm. His head bowed, his scales dull with shame. "Enough," Supreme Commander VARN slammed his fist on the council table. "You will not speak of surrender as if it were a victory. You will not speak of survival as if it were honorable. You failed. Thrax, you failed the Empire. Thrax looked up. I failed the Empire by saving its fleet. I failed the Empire by bringing back knowledge of the enemy. I failed the Empire by ensuring that we would not march into another defeat. If that is failure, then I am guilty. Varn stared at him, his eyes burning with rage. You will be silent, Thrax. You will leave this chamber, and you will wait for our judgment. Your fate will be decided by the council. Thrax nodded slowly. He turned and walked out of the chamber, his steps heavy, his heart empty. He had done what he thought was right. He had saved his people. He had brought back knowledge. And he had been branded a coward. The doors closed behind him. He walked through the halls of the Imperial Palace, past the guards and the servants, and the politicians, all of whom stared at him with suspicion or contempt. He was the admiral who had surrendered. He was the admiral who had failed. Admiral Thrax. He turned. A young officer stood before him, her scales pale, her eyes filled with something he had not expected. Hoping. Admiral Thrax, she said again, I am Lieutenant Commander Theron. I was assigned to your fleet. I was on one of the ships that survived. Thrax nodded slowly. I remember you. You were a navigation officer. Yes, Admiral, I was, and I saw what you saw. I saw the dark stars. I saw the Ghost Fleet. I saw what the humans did to our weapons. You saw the surrender too, Thrax said bitterly. You saw me give up. I saw you save us, Theron said. I saw you make a choice that no other admiral would have made. I saw you put your fleet's survival above your pride. And I want you to know that I understand. Thrax stared at her. You understand? I understand that we are not ready to fight the humans, she said. I understand that the Empire is in danger. And I understand that we need leaders who can see the truth even when the truth is painful. She stepped closer. I have been analyzing the data from our encounter. Admiral, I have been trying to understand what the humans did, and I have discovered something. What did you discover? Something terrifying, Theron said. The humans did not defeat us with weapons, Admiral. They defeated us with history. They defeated us with experience. They defeated us with something we have never had. She paused. We are a species that has never faced extinction, Admiral. We have never had to fight for survival. We have never had to adapt to catastrophe. We have always been strong. We have always been victorious. What are you saying? I am saying that we do not understand what we are facing, Theron said. We are looking at the humans through our own eyes. We are thinking they fight like us. They do not. They fight like a species that has been to the edge and back. They fight like a species that has learned to survive the impossible. Thrax looked at the young officer. He saw something in her eyes that he had not seen in his own in many years. Purpose. What do you suggest we do? He asked. I suggest we learn, Theron said. I suggest we study the humans. I suggest we try to understand them. I suggest we find a way to coexist rather than to conquer. And the Council, they will never accept that. Then we do not tell the Council. Theron said, we act in secret. We build a resistance. We prepare for the day when the Empire realizes the truth. Thrax felt a spark of hope in his chest. a small flame, barely visible in the darkness of his shame. "You would help me do this?" he asked. "You would risk your career, your life, to work against the Empire?" "I would risk everything," Thuron said, "because I have seen the humans. I have seen what they are capable of, and I know that the Empire is on a path to destruction. I cannot stand by and watch that happen." Thrax nodded slowly. "Then we have work to do." Commander Helena VOSS stood in the ruins of a city that had been rebuilt 3 times. The dome above her was cracked, allowing slivers of sunlight to fall through. The streets below were quiet, empty of civilians, filled only with the echoes of war. She had chosen this place for the meeting deliberately. She wanted the VLDARI envoy to see what humanity had survived. She wanted them to understand. The envoy arrived without ceremony. Single shuttle descended through the cracks in the dome, landing in the central square. The hatch opened and a delegation emerged. 4 VLDARI diplomats, their scales polished, their robes ceremonial, their faces carefully neutral. Commander VOSS, the lead diplomat, said, bowing formally, "I'm Ambassador Kael. I have been sent by the Imperial Council to negotiate terms." VOSS nodded. "Ambassador Kael, welcome to Earth. I hope you find our accommodations educational." She gestured to the ruins around them. This city was destroyed 3 times. Once by war, once by a natural disaster, once by a plague that killed 90% of its population. Each time we rebuilt it. Each time we made it better. Kael looked at the ruins, his scales shifting with unease. "You are showing us this for a reason. I am showing you this because I want you to understand what you are dealing with." VOSS said, "You are not dealing with a species that will surrender. You are not dealing with a species that will negotiate from weakness. You are dealing with a species that has learned to survive the worst the universe can throw at us." She led them through the ruins, past the skeletons of buildings and the ghosts of streets. She told them stories. As they walked, stories of survivors who had crawled from the rubble, stories of communities that had been rebuilt, stories of a species that refused to die. "You are intimidating us," Kael said. "Finally, you are trying to frighten us into submission. I am trying to make you see the truth." Voss said, "I am trying to show you that we are not a threat to your empire. We are a threat to anyone who threatens us. There is a difference." They reached the center of the ruins. Platform had been set up there with chairs for both delegations. Voss gestured for the Valdari to sit. "Here are our terms," she said. "First, your empire will withdraw all forces from our space. You will not attempt to colonize any system within 100 light years of Earth. You will not send ships, probes, or reconnaissance missions into our space." "And if we refuse?" Kael asked. Voss smiled. "Then we will make sure you cannot enter our space. We will darken your stars. We will make your navigation impossible. We will turn your empire into a collection of isolated systems, unable to communicate, unable to travel, unable to survive. That is a threat. That is a promise," Voss said. "We have shown you what we can do. We have shown you the weapon we have built. We have shown you that we are willing to use it. Do not test us." Kael leaned back in his chair. "And what do you want, Commander? What is the price of peace?" "The price of peace is simple," Voss said. "Leave us. Let us live our lives, let us rebuild. Our world, let us find our own path in return we will leave you alone, we will not attack your systems, we will not darken your stars, we will not do anything that threatens your empire. That is not a trade, Kale said, that is a surrender. I am not asking you to surrender, Voss said, I'm asking you to accept reality. The reality is that you cannot defeat us. The reality is that we will not surrender. The reality is that you have a choice, peace or extinction. Kale stared at her. You are arrogant. Commander, you assume that your victory is assured. You assume that the Empire will accept your terms. You assume. I assume nothing, Voss interrupted. I know that your empire is not prepared for a war with us. I know that your population is not ready to face extinction. I know that your leaders are afraid, and I know that if you refuse our terms, you will lose everything. She stood up. You have 3 standard cycles to deliver this message to your council. You have 3 cycles to decide, and if you choose war, you will not get a second chance. The Valdarian envoy sat in silence, staring at the human commander. This is not the end, Kale said. Finally, the Empire will not accept these terms. The Empire will fight. Then the Empire will die, Voss said. And that will be your choice. The Valdarian Empire did not accept the terms, but it did not fight either. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months. The Empire's leadership debated, argued, and resisted. Some factions called for war, some demanded surrender, some advocated for a third option, appeasement. In the end, the Empire chose nothing. It did not attack Earth, it did not withdraw its forces, it simply waited. And that was when the stars began to disappear. Not the navigation markers this time. Not the sensors, the actual stars, visible from the Valdarian home world. They began to dim one by one as if something was draining their light. The Empire's astronomers went insane trying to explain the phenomenon. The Empire's scientists produced theories that grew increasingly frantic. But the truth was simpler. Earth was keeping its promise. Commander Voss stood on the bridge of the Guardian watching the dark stars spread across the galaxy. She had given the order 3 cycles ago. She had watched the weapon activate, had watched the stars begin to dim, had watched the Empire's panic spread like wildfire. And she had felt nothing. Commander, her tactical officer said, the Empire is sending another delegation. They are asking for an audience. Let them wait, Voss said. They have made us wait long enough. She turned to face her crew, the men and women who had served under her through the long months of preparation and uncertainty. They were tired, they were scared, but they were also resolute. We are not monsters, she said. We are survivors. We are doing what we have always done. We are protecting our people. We are protecting our world, and we will not stop until we are safe. But at what cost? Her first officer asked. We are extinguishing stars. Commander, we are killing entire systems. We are preventing extinction, Voss interrupted. We are making a choice. Choice to survive, a choice to ensure that our children will live, a choice that no one else can make for us. She looked at the dark stars. I know this is difficult. I know this is painful, but I also know that the alternative is worse. The alternative is surrender. The alternative is subjugation. The alternative is the end of everything we have built. The Valdari delegation arrived. They were different this time, the diplomats were not polished and formal, they were desperate, their scales pale with fear. Commander Voss, the lead delegate, said, falling to his knees, "Please, we beg you, stop the darkness, stop the destruction. We will accept your terms. We will withdraw, we will leave you alone, just please, please stop." Voss looked at the delegate, at the terror in his eyes, at the desperation in his voice. She felt something that she had not expected. "Pity." "Rise," she said, "rise and look at me. Look at what we have done, look at what you have forced us to do." The delegate rose, his eyes fixed on Voss. "We are not your enemies," she said. "We never were. We are simply people who want to live. We are simply people who want to protect what we have built. We are simply people who will do whatever it takes to survive." "I understand," the delegate said. "I understand now. Please just give us a chance. Give us a chance to prove that we can coexist." Voss nodded slowly. "We will give you that chance, but understand this. It is a chance, not a guarantee. If you betray us, we will not hesitate. We will darken every star in your empire. We will leave you in a darkness that will never end. We will make sure that you remember what happens when you threaten humanity." The delegate bowed deeply. "We understand. We will not betray you." Voss watched the delegation leave her, heart heavy with a burden that she could not share. "Commander," her first officer said, "we did it. We won." Voss shook her head. "We survived. That is not the same as winning. Winning is when you have nothing left to fear. We will always have something to fear. We will always have something to lose. That is what it means to be human." She turned to face the dark stars. "We have made our mark on the universe. We have shown the galaxy what we are capable of. We have protected our home. We have ensured our survival, but at what cost? What have we become?" The answer came to her in the silence of the bridge. They had become what they needed to become. They had become survivors. They had become protectors. They had become the thing that other species feared. And in a universe that was dark and cold and endless, that was enough. The end.